How are we going, everybody? A quick one on our weather, in particular Melbourne, because that's where I'm based, or Victoria. We've had those hot, cold flushes and high humidity days, high humid days, and a lot of plants are growing real fast. So I thought I'd just touch base on two things. One is microclimates in your garden, where you're positioning your plants, because that plays a major role on the outcome and the vitality of your plant. For example, I had these artichokes in these grow pots or grow bags that I have here with just a general purpose potting mix mixed into them. I had them in a different position. They weren't getting a lot of morning sun, but where I grew up, we're talking about 35, 40 years ago, at the back of my parents' property, there was just paddocks, and these were growing wild, like the wild artichokes. Never saw a drop of water, and they were quite content. So they're well acclimatized, whereas these ones were grown in a controlled environment. I had them brought to me, planted in these bags, and I put them in a position where they're getting plenty of afternoon sun, not a lot of morning sun, and it was cooking them. These plants were getting cooked, they weren't tolerating that heat and the dryness, and I basically moved them, and they were over there near the other side where the eucalyptus trees were, and I had to constantly add water to them. So if you've got a plant that's struggling, get it out of the position where it is. If it's in the pot, if it's easier, obviously if it's in the pot, it's going to be a lot easier to move. But if it's in the ground, then try and create a screen, especially on the hot days, so you can reduce the amount of water. You shouldn't have to be adding water literally every day into a garden bed or pot. Well, pot maybe so, but not a garden bed. It should be able to tolerate a water every second day, especially on hot days too. So that shouldn't make a huge difference to the actual hydration. The difference there is how you mulch it, and obviously if it's a pot, the positioning of the pot. Have a look at these now. These are probably getting half, if not a quarter of as much water as what they were getting when they were positioned. And if I could just get you to swing around here, have a look. So I'm standing in this aisle. We've got this aisle in the middle. There's another path, so if I was to do some measurements, it's about 15 metres away. It's straight down the other side where it's quite arid, and it gets really hot there. Moved them over here, reduced my watering labour by half to a quarter, still very wet, and there's all this beautiful new growth on it. So that's the slight change of position for a plant. Makes a world of difference. Even if it's in the ground, dig it out if you have to. Obviously not right now, but in winter. One more thing. We've had a lot of emails come through, and folks, I'm getting to everyone's emails, or I'm trying to, but I'm looking at this one. I haven't had a look at it. I'm looking at a pumpkin plant here. This year I've found, especially with the pumpkins, a lot of male flowers being produced, and I've done nothing extra to these plants to induce them to bring on the female flowers. See, that's a male flower there. So it's not growing off a fruit. There's no fruit, there's actually just a stem. So that is a male flower. It's been spent. There's more male flowers coming on this one. I'm not going to sort of travel along to see if there is any females, although there may be something down in there. But I did notice over here, just a quick one, we've got to do this. We can't walk past the tomatoes and not look at them. Have a look at those beauties. All right, they're everywhere. Anyway, back to the topic. Over here, I had the same thing going on here, and even on 3NW, people ringing up, and I put it down to excessive nitrogen in the soil, and that's not because your soil is always rich continuously, even if you put black grit on. Remember, and this I'm talking to people in Victoria, with those heavy storms that we've had, or storm cells, and I suppose they happen up in Queensland, far north Queensland, there's a lot of nitrogen in the air, so when it does rain down, you're basically getting a liquid fertilised by nature, and that causes plants to sort of bolt, I suppose, and that's what I think happened with these plants, the pumpkin. I planted late again, and I wasn't getting any female flowers early on. All the male flowers have spent, most of them have, but now if you look down here, have a look. There's our little female fruit there. There's a flower, there's the fruit, there's another one down there. Now we need the bloody male flowers, don't we? And look what we have here. So we've got a female flower and a male flower. If you're finding that the fruit is prematurely maturing, meaning it's not setting fruit properly, or it's discoloring and falling off, it means it's not getting pollinated. So what you need to do is get the male flower and the female, and do it early in the morning when the flowers are in full bloom. That's the best time to pollinate. So get a male flower and dab it onto the female to get it to pollinate. And here's another piece of fruit here. So you can see the fruits are going to come on. Don't despair if you've had nothing but male flowers, and we've got plenty of male flowers coming on here. This is a very late planting. It's just starting to run now for me, folks. The potatoes are starting to finish, and other than that, check out our website, vasilisgarden.com, for all our great specials and superfood. Get some into your garden, you're going to love it. From me, Vasily, Maresi.